this is Zane with the City of Eugene Recreation Division. This is our Mechanical Mondays for our May is Bike Month. So throughout this series of videos, we've talked about multiple things. Changing flat tires, adjusting brakes, chain maintenance, both cleaning and lubing. In this issue, we're going to talk about things we should do before each and every ride. So that's going to include things on our bike. I call that our ABC Quick Check. Air, brakes, chain, quick release. And then also our personal safety checks. Going from head to toe and making sure we're ready for that ride. Alright, so here's a way to remember things we should check on our bikes before every ride. No excuse not to do that because this is really quick and easy to do and easy to remember. So ABC Quick Check. A for air. So I check my tires. I can just squeeze them. I don't have to put a gauge on there every time. The way I know how much pressure to have in my tires, looking on the side, it has a recommended range for pressure. A lot of times people ride with too little pressure, which means that it's harder to pedal your bike. It also means that there's a greater chance of flats on your ride. So squeezing the tire, making sure that that's correct, or putting a gauge on there to make sure you're within recommended pressures. The B stands for brakes. Whether that's rim or disc brakes, I can squeeze my brake lever, and I call it a rule of thumb. If your lever comes closer than a thumb width to your handlebars, you probably should adjust those brakes. Looking at our video of how to adjust those brakes, or taking your bike to a shop, your favorite local shop is a great way to do that. I can also hold the brakes and make sure that it's stopping the wheels. If I can lift up just by using the brakes, that's great. So A for air, B for brakes, C for chain. I can visually inspect my chain. I can lift up the rear wheel and spin it to make sure my gears are changing. Things don't sound funny. Rubbing. Visually look and see if it's dirty, if it has lube on it. And then Q is one that a lot of people forget, and that's Q for quick release. A lot of bikes have quick releases on the wheels and also on your seat. Checking those to make sure that they are nice and snug, not too tight, but obviously not loose, because losing a wheel could be a catastrophe. So that's the Q. So ABC Quick Check is something we should do before every ride. Okay, so we know that our bike is good to go through our ABC Quick Check. Now we should do a personal safety check to make sure our tire is ready for the ride. Helmet is obviously a very important thing. I'm going to go from the top to the bottom. So with my helmet, it's nice and comfortable. It's fairly new, it's not super old, and I know that the foam isn't all brittle. I do what's called a 2-finger fit method. So 2 fingers like a peace sign below the ears, 2 fingers below my chin, so my chin strap is nice and snug and it's actually clasped, and then 2 fingers above the brow. So a lot of times I'll see new riders riding with their helmet way back on their head. We need to cover that important part of our brain, and only 2 fingers or less above the brow. And then that should be a nice fitting, as long as it's the correct size, a nice fitting, safe helmet. So now I know I'm good to go with my helmet. I want to go down the body. I want to make sure that I have correct attire for the weather that's happening now and the weather that may be happening later on in the day. So that may be a rain jacket, that may be a short-sleeve t-shirt and shorts. But I do have on closed-toed shoes. I never want to ride in flip-flops or sandals, open-toed shoes, just due to the dangers that may happen from that. Always having closed-toed shoes is a very important thing. A couple more things in my personal safety check is looking at my right pant leg if I'm wearing pants. That's the side where my chain and my chain rings are. So unless, to keep from getting dirty pants or to getting material caught in the chain, I want to either roll that pant leg up or use some type of strap to hold my pant leg close so that it doesn't get into the chain. And as you notice, my shoes now do not have shoestrings. If I do have shoestrings, making sure that those shoestrings are tied and the loops are tucked inside so that I do not get my shoestring caught in the chain. So the final thing I want to check before going on my ride is my bike fit and mainly my seat height. A lot of times people ride with their seat too low, and when you do that, you tire out a lot quicker than if your seat were in the correct position. So as you see right now, my pedal is in a 6 o'clock position based on a clock face. 6 o'clock position, pedal at the ball of my foot, and there's just a slight bend in my knee. If I have any more of a bend than that, then I'm not using the really strong muscles of my legs, and I'm wearing myself out quicker, and I'm not riding as far as I could. So with a nice high seat, with a slight bend in my knee, I have the most efficiency. So one final piece to our personal safety check is checking our attitude. Oftentimes a bike ride, getting out into fresh air and seeing the world helps if we have a bad attitude, but make sure as you're going on your ride that you have a relatively clear mind where you can think of what you're doing and think of the critical thinking that it takes to be out on the streets on a bike. So always check that attitude before you ride. So thanks for tuning in for this year's Emmaus Bike Month and all of our events. Get out and enjoy the ride, enjoy the weather, enjoy the amazing opportunities that we have in our great city. Support your local bike shops, support local businesses by commuting by bike. It's a fun, exciting way to explore the city. And tune in later for more events.